everyone, welcome. It is Thursday, March 31st, 2022. I am Salad Blue Sister, and this is my turn to talk. Welcome, guest host Michael Key.
How's it going?
Going pretty well. Welcome, Frankie, Lala, and Brina. You are numbers 2, 3, and 4. And Roxy, welcome. Petty Deb. This is a hot topic, Michael. People are showing up on time.
Is my mic sound all right?
Yes, you are fine. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, and welcome, Petty Deb and Power Girl. So today, Michael Key is our guest host, and he's going to talk about the invasion of Title IX and women's athletics. Michael, I'm going to pass it over to you, and I'll just sit back and be the admin.
So, look, I want everyone to realize this is still Solid Blue's show, and we're going to run it like Solid Blue does because she does a hell of a job running her show. And if you've ever been into my show, it's a lot more hectic. So I hope that's okay, Solid Blue, if you help me moderate everything, especially with a topic that could be as divisive as this one.
Well, that is fine. And if Cap shows up, I will make sure that he goes into timeout.
Well, I think he's got his own show going on right now. But yeah, so, this is something I have some strong feelings about. I believe you do as well. I have talked about this a couple times on my show when I first started doing the podcast. And if you went back and listened to those episodes, I'm sure, some people's feelings would get hurt, especially the guy that I had co-hosting with me, who was one of my friends. But, just to give you a little background on myself, because it's important to know a little bit about me and then why, I'm speaking on certain things. I played sports my entire life. I'm not a woman, okay? Don't think I am. I played sports my entire life, though. I've run track, played baseball, played football at a Division I college. So I've played at the highest level of football except for the NFL. I'm very well aware of how college athletics operates. And, my girlfriend, who is in Australia right now, she played tennis at the University of Arkansas and here at Middle Tennessee. So she's, I've lived with someone and had been with someone who has been on the women end of this as well. And she feels the same way I do about this. Now, for those of you that don't know, Leah Thomas is a swimmer at the University of Pennsylvania, or I think it's Pennsylvania University, whatever way it is. It's an Ivy League school. And Leah Thomas I can't remember what the original name was. Maybe one of you guys can find that. But she was a man in the beginning half of her swimming career at the University of Pennsylvania. When she was a man, she was ranked around 400 or 450, something along those lines, in swimming in the entire country. Now, she was, still a good swimmer. Look, here's the thing. For you to go and actually compete in any sport at a collegiate level, you're better than average. You're far better than average. So I want to make this clear. Leah Thomas, for the men's or the women's, is not a bad swimmer at all. All right? They're talented. But then in the back half, she went from being, 400 to, plus ranking in the men's to winning the national championship in swimming in women's. And this isn't the first Will Thomas. There you go. Thanks, Paul. This isn't the first example of this. We saw something similar to this take place in the Olympics this year or last year with Hubbard. I can't remember the first name, but Hubbard was the last name. The powerlifter, who also made that transition later in life from a men's powerlifter, wasn't very good, to being a women's powerlifter. Now, with I cannot remember what the Laurel Hubbard, I believe the name was. Laurel Hubbard was, what is she, in her 40s now? Far past the prime of any powerlifter, man or woman, going to compete in the Olympics. My problem when it comes to Title IX, Title IX was put in place for the purpose of equality for women. And maybe Solid Blue, being the only woman on the panel right now, can back me up. Laurel Hubbard, yep, can back me up on this. But, women and women's rights, and I'm not a feminist, or I don't even consider myself one at all or anything like that. But, when you look at the road that women had to take to get certain rights, women didn't get their voting rights until long after even black people did, right? Black men, that is, because black women obviously would be in the same boat as regular women. So they had a much longer road for the equality deal. Then you had the equal pay stuff. We just had a massive lawsuit from our soccer team, our women's soccer team, that they just won for like $20-some million because of this equal pay deal. The WNBA has been, trying to push for equal pay for several years. Now, I have my own thoughts on this, but how can us as a country say that we support them in their fight with all these lawsuits for equal pay, for equal voting rights, for equal scholarship opportunities in college, with sports, whatever it may be, only to go and say that a man can now go and compete and take these opportunities away from them? So as far as the title of the show, and then we can go around and look at some statistics, but as far as the title of the show and why Title IX is being invaded, look, the way it is right now, other than football does not go into the scholarship count, as far as I'm aware, as far as the equal scholarships. But you take out football, and the school has to offer the same amount of scholarships to men as they do to women's sports. At MTSU, a good example of this is we had some sports that only women played, but we didn't have any sport other than baseball. But then you had the offset with softball. So we had those. We didn't have any just men's sports other than football. But again, football doesn't count into that equation. So we had a women's soccer team, but we didn't have a men's soccer team. We had a women's volleyball team. We don't have a men's volleyball team. This is just here. It's different at every school. But the idea is that you have to have the same scholarship opportunities for women as you do men. What we're going into now is when you start allowing, trans. I'm gonna get this wrong, and if I start getting terminology wrong, forgive me, okay? But it's all about the point. But when we have transsexuals start taking scholarships, because I guarantee you, Leah Thomas, well, I don't know about an Ivy League school, but they may not give athletic scholarships, but they did probably give them an academic scholarship, for the purpose of coming there and competing on the swim team anyway. That's an opportunity taken away from a woman. And so you have to look at it, the fact that a man took a woman's scholarship. And if this trend continues, it's going to go down a really dark path. And I have a lot to say about this today, but I want, we have Chill Will here, we have Solid Blue Sister, and anyone else that wants to call in, feel more than happy to. And I hope there's someone that actually disagrees with me, maybe in the that's in the comment section or listening to the show, because it would be nice to debate this. But yeah, I'll leave it at that and let you guys kind of give your thoughts as well.
Okay, so Michael, you're going to have to determine who you want to speak first. And
okay, yeah. Go ahead, Solid, if you want. I'll have you go first.
Okay, I agree with everything that Michael says. I'm not, all into sports and what have you, but I am into being fair. And I don't care how many pills, shots, whatever you take, the hormones, the testosterones, to me, they are still actively working in your body, because if they weren't, you wouldn't have to continuously, take those pills or shots, whatever.
Absolutely.
One thing that bothers me is when you have a man who has transitioned over into a woman. And if I'm correct, Laurel Hubbard, wasn't she the one that hurt a wrestler? Was she the one?
No, she wasn't a wrestler. She was a power lifter. She was the one that she was the first trans to compete in the Olympics, in this past Olympics over in, where was it? Where were the Olympics this last time?
Who was the one who was the wrestler, the transgender wrestler who hurt one of the other wrestlers? I mean, she ended up winning, but she also hurt the person that she was wrestling. And
was it a UFC fighter?
I want to say that it was. I'm not sure. All I know is she had, it was a whole big thing because the person that she wrestled was hurt, and they were saying that had she been a woman, that even though
Fallon Fox,
that the person would not have been hurt to the extent that they are. So my thing is, are we going to have it where if you're a wrestler or whatever, and you're pinning these people down, that you're overpowering them to the point where you are hurting them? So, and the only way I can see pushback on this is if the women, the biological women, start pushing back and refuse to play or do anything with them. They won't have anybody to wrestle, or they won't have anybody to, swim against, or whatever. I mean, that's the only way right now that I can see that it kind of starts with the pushback.
Yeah, I agree. Chill. Guess Chill Will's just listening.
Yeah,
oh, there he is.
I'm here, bro. My bad. I
No, you're
just
good.
had to get myself together. All right, so I don't know. So I guess what you would consider, you have to consider the age-old question: that are women and men equal? Right. That would be an important question to ask yourself in these situations. And we say that, right? But overall, physically, I feel like there's a difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people won't say it. But I don't know. I'm okay. I don't like them like to look at it as equal or, better, or like, I feel like it's, what a woman is what's beautiful for the earth. What a man is its purpose. Whatever his makeup is what's beautiful for the earth. There's no lesser or no greater. They all have their same, but biologically, obviously, a man naturally just is, you feel like stronger to some degree. But some people push back against that. They'll say, hey, they got little men, they got a big women, you got China doll, you got. So I think we're talking averages, right? So when you come to the testosterone stuff, it's like it's a thing now, because you got the small men and you got the bigger women that might be just strong, and so that's a thing. And I don't know what's the right thing. If you catch them before a certain age, that they're just, it doesn't matter, because once they start taking them around 12, that it stunts their development of their manly development, and they're actually a woman or something. People will argue. So all the scientific information that I should probably be up on, and I'm not, it's there to refute the argument, to say, hey, this is actually, it's closer to a little girl than this little boy. But that's rough, right? But I mean, it's still, I think it falls in line with the equality thing. I mean, how can it not?
Yeah, no, and I'm gonna, because look, this subject goes deeper than the sports side, and I want to hit on as much as possible today, because I have a lot of feelings on this, and I have a lot of stats and stuff I can throw out there. But Bob, go ahead. And what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I don't disagree with you. Yeah, so I also would love to hear someone come on the panel and debate this, because it seems as if, it's a huge thing, and there must be a lot of people behind this I don't know what you would call it, but yeah, I looked into this kind of stuff way back, so I'm not really, it was a while since I, got into the issues of trans, and I don't know how you want to take the show, so I'll just say that I agree with everything that's been said so far, and before anything was mentioned, I was thinking more about the UFC, the Fallon Fox one, because that was a huge story here in the UK as well, where she broke the skull. I think it's actually more than just one woman she's broken the skull of, and this is the dangers that it can cause. And I think these are very tricky shows to risk offending people, and having respect is key with it. But ultimately, with the trans issue, when it affects our speech and our freedoms, then I think you just have to blatantly say it. And I often like to. I mean, this is going to come across as mean, but I honestly like to poke fun at the feminists and the progressives, because they've asked for this, and it cracks me up when you hear of like women female of the year and they're actually men, and that meme about
Yep.
even the best female in the world is a man. So it's I know it's wrong, it's winding up, because not every woman is behind this, like we've clearly heard from Solid Blue. So I feel sorry for the conservative women, and or even just the women that are not up for this stuff, because even saying that men and women are different, you could get a lot of backlash from saying something like that. And I don't think that's something that should be given backlash. We should celebrate the differences between men and women. So yeah, I'm eager to hear where the show will go, and I'll pass the mic.
Yeah, and then I see Frankie's on the panel now. Frankie, do you have any thoughts on this?
Frankie is actually mute, and she's been like my absolute super fan. And
Okay.
she sent me an email months ago saying that she always talks in the chat, but she said that she feels left out. So when she asked to be on the panel, I let her come up.
I got you. Yeah, and feel free at any time, to chime in. And look, in Solid Blue, I hope it's okay. I do plan on taking this down a road that could be controversial, but I'm here to state my opinion.
You take it down the road however you want to, but I do want to say, though, there are conservatives who are transgender. In fact, I do believe Jamie Wallace in the UK recently came out as a trans. So, is it mostly people on the left who are pushing it? Yeah, but the people on the right, if they're trans or whatever, they're taking advantage of it too. So I just want to throw that out there.
Well, Caitlyn Jenner's a conservative too.
You're right. And she, So
what's funny about and what's funny about that, and think about how successful Bruce Jenner. I don't like saying Caitlyn. I always say Bruce still, but regardless, right? Think about how successful of an athlete it is. I remember that was actually the first athlete I remember seeing on a Wheaties box. And I'm way younger than when he competed, but he was still on the Wheaties boxes way later after he retired. I mean, you're talking about a stud athlete in the decathlon. And he or she now has gone on recently saying that Leah Thomas should not be allowed to compete in women's sports. And I look at this, I don't care if it's a conservative or a liberal thing. I don't care about that, even though my show is real conservative talk, right? And I do have conservative values. There's a lot of things that I really don't care who it is. Right is right, wrong is wrong. And their statistics on this are just overwhelming. Now, just to point this out. Now, I ran track. And I think it's a major sport. A lot of people know, everyone should know who Florence Griffith Joyner is, right? FloJo? The greatest woman track star of all time. She holds the 100-meter world record in track. She holds the 200-meter world record in track. The 100-meter record is 10.49 seconds. That's also There's a lot of argument on how much wind aid she had and if it's legit, but they have it down as a legitimate world record, 10.49. The closest woman to come to that was Thompson, Hurrah, from Jamaica this past year in the Olympics, ran a 10.54. And then you have Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price, who's 10.61. I love track guys, by the way. In the state of Florida, where I'm from, which is a huge track and field state, so far this year, and it's the beginning of the track season, and people get faster as it goes on, there has been 4 boys run faster than the women's world record of 10.49 in the state of Florida alone. I had looked up this statistic last year when I first started the podcast, when Sha'Carri Richardson was breaking all the records and was doing really well leading into the Olympic trials. And I was curious because I believe her fastest time was like a 10.71 or something around there at that point in time. There was 850-ish high school boys in the entire country of the United States that had run a faster time than the fastest woman in the United States, who was at that time as well the favored to win the gold medal at the Olympics. There's 850 boys that had beat her time in the 100 meters. She was only a little bit faster than I was in the 100 meters, and I don't consider myself that fast in high school. I was a 10.8. So, this in 2021, for ages 15 to 16, so these are boys that aren't even finished with puberty. They're about freshman and sophomore in high school. The fastest time for the 100 meters is a 10.51. So the fastest 15 to 16-year-old boy has already beaten the Olympic record in the 100 meters for the woman. The fastest 200-meter time was a 21.10, which beats the 200-meter women's world record of 21.34 set by Flojo. In 2019, there's a national track meet, the New Balance track meet. It's the fastest high school kids in the country. There were 5 boys that ran faster than the 10.49 world record set by Flojo. There were 8 boys that ran faster than the 10.54 Olympic record set by Thompson Hurrah this past year in the women's Olympics. The same holds true for the 200 meters. There was 8 boys that actually ran faster than the women's world record in the 200 meters. These are high schoolers. Again, I said earlier, over 800 high school boys ran faster than our fastest woman when she was at her peak, leading into the Olympic trials last year. If you think that a man, especially a man like Leah Thomas, who had already gone through puberty, who still has her man parts. By the way, I believe I saw that she had said she also still dates women. If you think that because they're taking a little bit of estrogen and hormone therapy, that it's going to neutralize the playing field, you're crazy. It's not. It's not even going to come close. Going back to something that Chill Will said as far as, what age would you have to catch it on to make it even? The problem with that I have, and this is my opinion, I don't think that anyone should ever go or undergo transitional surgery or treatment before they are finished with puberty. The reason being is because, especially in a boy, puberty changes you drastically. And it does women too, but for a boy, I'm talking about as far as your sex drive and all of that, I think a lot of boys go from, I don't care about women or girls at all, to girls are kind of disgusting. Who cares about them? I don't talk to them. To, 12, 13. For me, it was like 14 and 15 because I was a little bit of a late bloomer. That's when all of a sudden your eyes just start opening up to a new world. Like, oh my God, that girl's got some boobs. She's got a nice butt. Look what she's wearing. And you start paying attention to all that. and that sex drive starts kicking in. That testosterone starts pumping, right? It completely changes your mental awareness on this stuff. And if you are, if you have a boy who is saying, yeah, I'm gay, I like boys, and they're like 6, they don't even know at that point, in my opinion. Because there's a lot of gay boys at 6 years old. And I'm saying that because there's a lot of boys, that's what the whole cootie thing, right? Ooh, girls are gross, all that stuff. Like, that's normal. But you don't know until that testosterone kicks in. If you're not allowing that kid to fully develop and make that decision beforehand, afterwards, after they've gone through it all, you're not doing them any justice. It's not even fair. But as far as how it plays into sports, you can't be competitive. Women cannot be competitive. The whole point there's a Title IX is because women can't compete with the men. It's just one of those scientific, it is what it is topics. There's no way around it. So before I go on, I'm gonna kind of let Solid Blue go first and get your thoughts on that. But I do have a lot more to say about this. But go ahead, Solid Blue.
I agree with you 100% on that, because I actually think that, definitely at the age of 21, but I would like to see when you start to, decide to start the change or whatever, that is 25. And I know that in some places, you have to go through a year of psychological therapy before you can even start taking anything. But I just think it's crazy. And for me, I'm more of the Bible. God made man, God made females, woman, whatever. And that's the way it should be. Now, if you're one of those rare people who are born with both sexes, then it's up to the parents at that point.
Yeah.
To
Different scenario though, right? Because we're talking about, such a small minority of people.
Right. But at that point, the parents make the choice, whatever. But, but if you're 12 years old, like the one kid that has a reality show, whatever, it's like you're 12, just like when girls are 16 and their parents are getting them boob jobs, for their 16th birthday, you are still going through the change. Your body is still changing, whatever, so I just, more than anything, I think that, and I know I'm going to have people push back on this because someone has already told me that I owe the transgender community, I just think that it's an affront to God, and you're basically telling God, you didn't get it right, so therefore I am going to make it better.
I agree. Chill. Chill.
Chill, you have to get on the ball here. Seriously, dude. Come on now.
He's all right. we can come back to Ba.
Again, I agree with everything that's been said. The things that when I was learning about the issue with the trans movement and trans people is, I this is maybe a strong view, and I don't know how this is going to be taken, but I think trans should be filed as like a mental health. Like I would honestly prescribe people who are seriously thinking about going, under the knife and getting, being trans, is have them go through counseling for a while. I don't know if you think that's crazy or not. I don't know, because I've never actually said that out loud, but I've heard it. I've certainly heard it. We're prescribing these people like drugs and messing with their hormones, and I think sitting them down and having them, speaking to them about why they feel this way, rather than jumping into drugs and medicine and things. Because I think, to back that up, I would say there was something I heard about like the suicide rates pre-op and post-op don't change any. So it's not like you're making them better. You're not making them any happier by, chopping off their genitals or, whatever happens down there. So to me, that's a very telling stat. Like, I think they use the term, like, the suicide rates are the highest among trans, like, of all the groups and all they said that it was the only thing that came close was the Jews in Nazi Germany. The suicide rates amongst Jews then was like through the roof, and the trans people, they're higher than those people. And even after you give them the operation, that doesn't really move. So they're still committing suicide. They're still not happy with themselves. They're not happy with their bodies. That's why I say that. I say that we should maybe be looking at alternative ways rather than just, and it sounds crazy to me when you hear of parents putting their 4, 5, 6-year-old kids through hormone replacement. That's just insane. And I would say, you could go as far as say that's child cruelty, but that's just me. I don't know if anyone shares that view. But yeah, I agree with everything that's been said so far.
Yeah. And but in the chats, is it Petty Deb asked if you had a reference to the suicide statistics. I don't know if you do. If you do, maybe we can put them in the description
I'll try find
the
them.
show. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And look, here's what I do know. I haven't looked up the exact stats on the suicide rate, but I do know that it is very high among transgender people. And I want to say this. Look, I'm not in a situation. I have never experienced what they're going through. Do they have a mental problem? Do they have some kind of issue? Well, obviously there is an issue, right? It's an issue if you feel like you need to be a woman and you're in a man's body or vice versa. Like, that's a problem. I have a problem. I have Tourette's, right? There's multiple problems. It's not that you're bad or you're, a bad person. Like, so don't think that I hate transgender people or I hate gay people or anything like that. That is not true whatsoever. Okay. And I'm not saying that we need to stop people from transitioning. All I'm saying is that we need to stop people from transitioning before their bodies are completely developed and their minds are completely developed. Because there's a lot of changes that happen, especially in those teen years, that, you could end up regretting any changes that took place beforehand. Someone asked, would I be friends with any of them on the transgender, like if they were transgender? Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'm going to treat everyone with respect. If you're nice to me and you treat me with respect, I'm going to treat you the exact same way. I don't care if you're gay, if you're a cross-dresser, if you're whatever. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't. But what does bother me is when you start imposing yourself and thinking that you're entitled to certain things that you're not entitled to, or when you feel that everyone should cater to you. That is where I start having problems. Especially because we're talking about a very, 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 very slim minority group here. We're not talking like transgender people are 25% of the country. I don't know what the makeup is here, but it's probably in the single digits if it's even 1%. I don't know. But I do know that, so Crucible Man says less than 1%. But what's the percentage of women in the United States? I believe there's more women than there are men here. So we're going to sacrifice the equality opportunities of over 50% of the country for a group that makes up less than 1%. That's not right. Here's the thing. Not everything is fair in life, right? People are born without legs. People are born without arms. People are born, with Down syndrome, with autism, with different things that keep them from maybe competing in sports with, at a high level. Well, it's just a fact of life. It's just nature. Unfortunately, people get the short end of the stick. It's just, especially when it comes to sports and we're talking about physical stuff. Unfortunately, I wasn't blessed enough to be good enough to go play in the NFL, or I wasn't tall enough to go play in the NBA. Like, that's just, there's nothing you can do about it. And when it comes to the women's thing and the scholarships, Here's what people got to understand about college sports. College sports is about money. All right? As far as the coaches are concerned and that school is concerned, it's about getting money for that university. Why do you think there's so much money goes into college football? Because the returns that college football brings to the university, go look at the University of Alabama, their campus, before and after Saban started winning national championships, it's night and day. And that's because of all the revenue they bring in. Why do you think they pay Nick Saban $11 million a year or whatever it is? Because he brings that money in. He brings more than that in. He's worth that. And the opportunities that college sports provide young individuals, men and women, are I mean, it's an awesome opportunity. You go, you get a full ride scholarship, you get your school paid for. You get a great education to set you ahead in life. Here's the other thing is, like, I played football. The majority of my teammates came from lower income. They came out of the hood. Let's just be honest about it, right? They provided an opportunity for these kids to get out of the hood and get away from all that stuff going on, and gave them an opportunity to better themselves, to educate themselves, and go and pursue a career that they may not have had that opportunity to pursue. And this isn't just for men, this goes for women as well. Because a lot of the women come out of these same areas. But going back to the money thing, it's about winning. When you go from, like, the difference between the mentality of high school to college, especially Division I college, competitiveness wise, it is serious business when it gets to college, because everyone is good in college. Everyone was the best player on their team in college. It's all about winning, because that coach's livelihood revolves around winning. Here's the thing. They're paying that coach in football, let's say $1 million a year. My coach made $1 million a year. His salary, his whole life revolves around the actions of an 18 to 20-year-old kid. Can you believe that? That's pretty stressful. So he's going to do whatever it takes to put the best people on the field and win, because that's what's going to keep his job and keep his income coming in. It's the same thing goes for women's sports, be it this swim coach, be it the basketball coaches, whatever. So if they got a transsexual man that is now allowed to compete on their team and is going to win them a national title, what the hell do you think they're going to do? They're going to give them that scholarship. Well, they don't have unlimited scholarships. They only have like 10, or they have a certain amount. Or maybe they only have partials. So that means that they have to take away from a legitimate woman that has worked her ass off her whole life and has done everything that everyone has asked of her, gotten the grades to get in, gotten the sport accolades to get in. She's the best person on her team. She doesn't get the scholarship because this guy that was already on the men's team, that was ranked horribly on the men's team, is taking that scholarship in that spot away from her. Well, what do you think if they really open the door on this? Let's say we get basketball players. They could get a whole lineup or half the lineup for the starters on a women's basketball team that are transsexual. Now we're talking about 3, 4, 5 scholarship opportunities taken away from a woman. And all you're doing is crushing the whole reason that Title IX was put into place. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's wrong. Solid Blue, do you have any comments there?
You said more than a mouthful, but I mean, everything that you're saying is correct, and I personally don't think that transgender should compete in sports at all, because it just, especially transgender male to female, because it just isn't fair. I mean, to me, the scales will never be the same. But I do want to ask again, what do you think if every biological woman just sat down and said, I'm not going to play anymore if transgender people are on the team, or we have to do this or do that? Do you think that it would force the powers that be to look at everything twice and say, maybe we shouldn't do this? I mean, what do you think would happen?
That's a really good question. And it's something that I would like to say I think so. I think that would halt it, right? If they all sat out. But again, going back to the money situation, women's sports don't bring in revenue for colleges, right? There's only two sport. Look, football is the main revenue driver and pays for a lot of the school's activities, but usually the football team pays for the entire athletic program. The next highest one, and it's only really at some schools, would be basketball. So schools like North Carolina, Duke, and then other schools where they don't have a football team, they just have a men's basketball team that's good. That's like the primary revenue driver, right? But women's sports, there's no women's sports. Maybe at some of these select schools like a Connecticut or a Tennessee when Pat Summitt was there, maybe, or maybe Louisville, right, where they bring in a little bit of revenue because it's popular. But I don't know if they have the leverage to do it, because if they cut it out, what's the school losing? They may not be losing enough to really care about making a change. So I don't know.
Yeah, but okay, but at the same time though, the school may not lose, but if you don't have anyone who is going to, swing on the swing with you, then you're out there by yourself. So it would force them, to, I'm not going to be able to do this, or unless they just have their own group of transgender people who are wrestling, swimming, whatever. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
And here's the other problem you run into is there's a lot of girls out there that are against this, like a lot. There've been more and more outspoken, I think, since the swimming deal occurred. But when it comes to college sports, you only get 4 years. So you're really limited. And for women, for the most part, it's already hard enough to make it to a professional level for anything. Less than 1% do of those athletes. But for women, it's even more so because there's not as many opportunities past that. So you have to weigh, some of these girls are weighing, well, should I just not worry about it, just keep my head down, keep doing what I'm doing because I have a goal. I only get 4 years of this, and I'll worry about it afterwards. Or do I just sit it out and protest and risk losing eligibility? So you have that factor as well. But I think the way to do it, Solid Blue, is to do the protest like they were saying, like you said, but you have to get the men on board too, the male athletes at that school. So if you're a women's basketball player and you running into this, you need to get the men's basketball team on there too to protest. And you need to get some of the football team to protest because now the school has to listen.
But are you only asking for the school to listen, but you're also asking for people like, the Walmarts or whoever is, funding schools or whatever? Are you making the world listen? Are you making everyone other than the schools listen?
Well, I think a lot of the private boosters will fund money to the school no matter what, right? Because that's not necessarily a reason they would stop funding money to the school. What you need the NCAA to listen, because that's who's making the decision. And then I believe in this case, it wasn't necessarily the NCAA. It was someone in the state of, because the states kind of play a role. It's the NCAA and the relationship it has with the states, and how the states allow certain things. It's a complicated relationship, but you ultimately need the NCAA to listen because they have the final say. So the boosters are going to fund money no matter what. Like I said, boosters, you have a couple that may stroke checks out to the women's schools and a few women that are successful, giving it back to the teams they played on. But for the most part, they're donating to the men's basketball team, the men's football team. I don't think they'll be affected by any kind of protest like that. I do think, though, if you keep allowing transgenders to compete in women's sports, that they could look at that and ultimately stop funding money, though. It could go the other way.
Okay. All right. I'll pass the mic. Didn't mean to hog anybody's time.
No, you're good. Chill Will, are you there? He's probably working. Ba?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. I don't know what they can do. I mean, yeah, if all women banded together and you're saying men as well, I mean, I suppose something would have to be done. But I'm afraid this is the kind of stuff that I've known about for a while. This is like, I don't want to go conspiratorial, but this is like the New World Order stuff. Like, this is going to happen. And I don't think you guys or anyone's going to be able to stop this. This is what was planned a long, long time ago. So I've got a couple of stories here to kind of show you why I think it won't work, because this was put in front of me the other day there. Algerian judoka Fethi Nourin receives a 10-year ban from withdrawing from the Olympics to avoid Israel. So I'm assuming he's a Palestinian judo. He's a judo fighter, and he's withdrew from the Olympics to avoid Israel, and he's received a 10-year ban and a massive fine. And then on the other hand, next to it, there's Poland and Sweden soccer teams. Well, you guys say soccer, I say football. They're refusing to play Russia because of what's going on now, and that's fine. So it's just whoever's in charge of these things, we can only surmise whatever they want, it will happen. So if the women start pulling out of sports because there's a trans male in there, they'll just be fined or they'll be kicked out of the association. I don't think there's. I mean, I'm maybe being a pessimist, but I think that's you kind of fighting. It's not going to work. But that's just me.
And then we got Maid in here. What's up, Maid?
Hello, everybody. Sorry for coming in late. I don't know how much I miss, but I think what I miss is a very few things that very easy. But first, Mr. Michael, who or someone who did it affect for you to be protesting? What's your reason? Did someone for you got?
Well, so, and this is why, I kind of explained where I was at with this. So, I'm a former collegiate athlete, right? My girlfriend of almost 8 years now, and will be my wife soon. She was also a collegiate tennis player at the University of Arkansas and here at Middle Tennessee. So, and I know how she feels about it, and I know the work firsthand that these women put into the sport and the time that they put into the sport to be competitive. So that's, I'm looking at it just from every perspective. I know how much time it takes to, as far as lifting. Here's the thing, being a collegiate athlete is more than a full-time job. It's 50, 60-hour weeks, because you also have school like every other student has. Then you have another 20 hours a week just for that sport alone, not counting travel time. So it's a lot, and you are doing it to win. The whole point of collegiate sports is to win. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with this, Maid.
Okay. I hear you. Still didn't answer my question fully, but okay. But I understand because I was a past athlete myself. Everybody puts in the same amount of work, of course, not just females, males, of course. And either way, you're gonna spin it up. Very much against the transgender thing. Very, very much against it. But the problem that you're gonna have is this Equality Act, because hence why feminists are to blame for this problem that you're having right now, are the whole female rights movements. They're the whole cause for this happening right now. So this is a trickle down effect of what they were fighting for. To because what I'm trying to get at is the fact that females tend to get over competitive and think that they can really compete with men. Now that they're seeing firsthand that they can't, now they're having an issue, which, as I said, I'm very, very much against it. And it's been going on for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why people didn't try to prevent it before it's become a major issue.
That is a good point you made about the feminists, and I didn't think about that. I just want to clear this up because I'm pretty sure what you're saying is basically the feminist movements about equality, right? They push so hard about wanting to compete with men in everything that it's led to this where, okay, you want to, compete with men in sports, fine, there you go. And it's opened the door for this, is what you're saying, because of how hard they've pushed for the equality part.
Yeah, because you have a few relays that include females and males. You have mixed tennis and stuff like that. So that's where most of it is stemming from. The fact that, as I said, females want to compete. But why I think it can go away, but it's going to be very hard. But the reason why it's going to take some time is because the LGBT whatever movement, they're the problem. You need to get rid of that aspect of them first, the whole rights that they have, because I'm not saying you should stigmatize or deem or whatever, but the, the power that they have, that's the problem that they're using to infringe on women's sports. And unless you get rid of that power that they have, you won't you won't be getting rid of this issue. Trust me. I've thought about many ways how to combat this, but that's the only way to combat it is to relinquish some of the rights that the LGBT and transgender movement has.
I see what you're trying to say. I want to reword it a little differently, though, because we don't need to relinquish rights, right? Like, right? I feel like in this situation, their rights and the ability to compete in women's sports are two different
Or
things. Okay,
privilege.
when I'm thinking,
Privileges.
yeah, if that's a privilege, right? And that goes to, I think on Friendly Differences, I brought the privilege and right deal solid, if you guys remember that. But you're not saying they need to relinquish rights like regular human rights here. That's not the problem. It's where do we draw the line on, okay, just because you're going in and transitioning to a woman does not mean that you're going to be able to partake in events that women are partaking in, that are exclusive women events like women's sports. I think that's what you're trying to say, right? Like there needs to be a line drawn as far as you get all the rights, you just don't get the ability to go and compete, just like a regular man doesn't get the ability to compete in these sports.
Yeah.
It's still a fairness thing. It's actually making it more fair. That's what it's doing.
But what fair enough, you can use that concept. For me, I'm all about just but that's just me. Alright, so the other thing is um the they can just have a straight transgender Olympics, just as how you have a quadriplegics and stuff like that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so you can just push them in that corner, give them their own thing, so they can compete amongst each other, because that's the only way you can rectify
Mm-hmm.
this. Think about it. So you have various transgenders, because male who transition to female, they can't make it in the actual male competitive sports. So they're transitioning to the female aspect of it, which if all females, as you suggested, would step aside for a year and leave the transgenders to compete amongst each other, then the conclusion that they would come to is the fact that
Mm-hmm.
you're simply not better than the other counterpart that you're up against, which is another transgender person, because as I said before, they can't cut it between being in the real competitive male sports. That's the whole thing, That's the issue that they have, The fact that they can't win a race or they can't win a title, they find it, I don't know, they demoralize themselves. That's me saying it. To going into a woman sports just to win a title. That's the whole problem. They don't have no other reason being in there. Trust me. None of them are transitioning to being a woman full time or nothing. They just want to win a title. They just want to be feeling validated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So push them aside. Let them have their own little fun over there, and we go back to normality with females competing against females.
So I'm gonna move on to Chill, and he also asked a question in there, and we can hit on that as well, especially with this Leah Thomas deal. But Chill, go ahead, because I know you've been gone for a while.
Yeah, I have, man. I'm sorry. I heard Solid Blue cussing me out. She was like,
No,
"What
she
the
didn't.
hell
She
you
didn't
at?"
cuss you out.
I feel like she was like, "What the hell you at? What the hell? Quit playing with my damn show." I was like, I
Yes,
didn't
you
mean
did
to.
translate exactly. Where the hell you at?
I didn't mean to. I got a phone call. My phone been blown out the hook. You know, I'm at work. Y'all know I'm be at work when I'm doing these podcasts. Well, I shouldn't have said that.
I'm always on the clock
don't
too.
be
Don't
at work.
worry.
I don't be at work. I don't be at work. Actually, I lied. But but yeah. So this is so hard for me, man. Like it's so hard because I would like to acknowledge everybody and respect everybody, and you running into a realm of like this has never been before in our time. I might have been back in some times where they just had that's neither here nor there. But like I said, if it's about what you consider equal. Now, if you feel like that's a thing, like the people who feel like the feminists or the equalists, or if that's a word, they do you take a step back from that? Like I don't know that. What does that mean? I'm still trying to grasp what all this means. Like, can you be a feminist and a person? I don't know. I don't know. It sometimes it does feel like it's cool to be, because a man can be a feminist too, right? So it feels like it's cool to be pro equality with everybody until sports come along, or until you know bathrooms come along, locker room come along. It's or children around, or come along, and that's those are things. What's the answer? So with me, I kind of borderline. I feel like naturally, whatever you are naturally, just grow with that. You can't be mad at that, right? You wouldn't think somebody could be mad at that, but we are. Like it's like crazy. Like we, fuck, you can be mad at a man having to go to the man bathroom because I ain't no man no more. I cut my dick off and now I ain't no man. Like hold on, is Clark Kent Superman? Like I'm like, hold on, time out. Where does it stop? So I don't man, bro, it's so much contradictory shit in this that I could go. I just don't want to get into it. But for real, bro, how do you address that? You can't tell and you can't tell a child that feels like he's a woman. You can't tell him that he's not if he feels like he's gay. You can't tell him he's not because it may be a real thing. It's a such thing as chemical imbalance. But when it comes to just changing your gender in general, man, like
you know what you do is you tell your kid, you say, you accept whatever they're telling you, and you say nature is a great thing, and we need to let it take its course. And then
but now you're imposing your beliefs on them.
Well, no, you're just letting them develop into whatever they're going to develop into. Right?
And now I'm a man though. Now I can't compete in the Olympics because now I got to reverse my manhood. But I could have caught it beforehand and was just stayed a woman. These are arguments I've had in general. We talking about the medicines or whatever, and so it's like, man, I could have caught it when I was 12, and I could have, been the actual girl. And whether you want to believe with scientists, because there's a real argument for people who are pro. I wish somebody was in here that was really like well versed in it. There's a legitimate argument, the science of it. So, man, listen, and I don't think it's no answer. I think this is going to be in circles and circles and circles. But one thing is crazy: you got this man looking like a man beating up on a bunch of women. That shit crazy.
What's crazier is she shares a locker room. She has her private parts still, the man part. She still has her penis and her balls. And she still dates women.
Hold on.
This is Leah Thomas.
This is not real. Like it don't even sound like a real story. I thought it was like she was. I don't even know what to think no more. What's that track when you? Oh man, that's crazy.
No, she still got her man parts.
I'm better than you.
And still dates.
Better than you.
Yep. And still dates.
Maria, I kicked your ass today. Ha ha ha.
Well, and she still dates women. apparently.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy.
But you know what? With Fallon Fox, there have been women who have been in the locker room with her, saying that she stands there watching them while they shower.
With her
So it's
dick
like,
out. With her dick out. This is like what?
you know, so
What-
right, so
Yeah.
I'm like, so if you have not gone through the entire thing, why are you even in the same locker room?
Exactly. Look, this goes back to I was talking about this with Britt last night, and I said, I'll be damned if I let my daughter on a team with someone like that who's in that locker room, still has her man parts, still dates women, right? Just like that's why I oppose the whole allowing genders to go in the women's bathroom or the men's bathroom, right? Because, okay, I identify as a woman today, or for the last 2 months, whatever. I still like women, still am a man as far as my makeup is concerned. I'm just gonna go use their bathroom. Who the hell? Like, come on,
Michael, I just really needed you to hear this. I'm a man that wants to be a woman to date women. That's crazy. I'm gonna say it again for y'all. I'm a man that wants to be a woman so I can date other women. What? With my penis.
Yeah.
And just like in the locker room, hey girls, let's rally. We gotta get this one today. Let's rally around. Yay, good game. Slap you on the butt. Good game. Slap you on the butt. Like what? What's going on?
Look, I agree with the allowing the transgenders to have their own classification in sports. Just like we had the Paralympics, right? I think made a good point on this. We had the Paralympics, allow them to have their own events and compete against each other. Here's the other thing.
That's the Negro Leagues, bro. That's the Negro Leagues. Can't do it.
What do you mean? It's no different than having only men's sports and women's sports.
I have to disagree with you on that, because when
Yeah.
you say the
Negro-
same thing about people who are disabled and they have their own thing. So
I'm just saying.
I disagree with you
I'm
on
not
that.
saying I'm right. I'm not
Yeah.
saying I'm right. I just need you to
Well, it's not-
understand where the argument is at.
It's different though, because in the Negro Leagues you had men, right, that were as competitive as other men, right? That were separated. It wasn't like you were separating, like, gender and physical differences is one thing, race is another, right? Because black people and white people are just as competitive.
Right.
So it's not that.
Absolutely, but this is the thing, though. That's what you see what I'm saying. These are the comparisons that they draw, though, and so that's what makes it more complicated.
Yeah. But then you would have to make if they were going to make that argument, then you tell them, you say, okay, then we're just going to eliminate women's sports in general, and then you have to be able to compete with the men to even get a spot. Period. Because
there you go.
Because that's a stupid argument that they have. Then they'll get crushed on that. Right. Here's the other thing: you don't see this in men's sports. Why is it not a story of a woman transitioning to a man that's blowing men out of the water in their sport? Why are they not imposing on men's sports? Why? Because it physically is not possible.
No, even worse, you don't see a woman with a coochie going into a man locker room saying, "I'm a man," and just slapping dicks.
Never. Look, I've been in a locker room with grown men. All right. And a men's locker room is no place for a woman, first of all. All right. And vice versa. A women's locker is no place for a man at all. And
I still like men, though. I'm a man with a coochie, but I still like men.
Yeah, well, well, go to prison then if you like that, and then try to pitch that story there.
Damn.
But, yeah, solid. But yes, you don't see this reverse, right? You only see the men that are going down to the women's sports that in their transition and causing problems and dominating those sports. You don't see it vice versa. That right there just wins the argument of why it shouldn't happen. And
but
go ahead.
Sorry, Michael. The thing that you just brought up, and I think everybody's overlooking, they're not fully transitioned. That's the key issue.
We are looking at that.
We have said that. Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying. That's exactly what we're saying.
I'm talking about the NCAA, because there's a female. If you guys keep up with the Olympics. That was like a couple years ago.
Yep.
Casta Semenya. She was an 800-meter runner.
I was about to read that article, but go ahead, because that's the next place I was going with this. Yes, go ahead, because I want you to.
She
Yeah.
has man genetics. She's very fast, but she's not a man. She's not all right. So she wasn't a male transition to a female. She just has male genetics for a female. So she's well built. She's very fast, and they forced her to take what
estrogen.
Was it?
Estrogen.
To lower,
she had to take she had to lower her testosterone.
So is she a hermaphrodite?
Yeah.
No, she's a woman. So this is okay. And I have it put up here. She has a disorder, which some women do. Look, here's the thing. There are some men that produce more testosterone than other men, right? That's why they give you a level and a range when you go do drug tests. You have to be between that range. All right. The same thing goes for women, because women also produce testosterone. Now you have a few women that overproduce it. You've seen women that look a little more manly, but they're women. They're biological women, and they're not gay. They're not wanting to transition. They're not supplementing it, taking testosterone. No, like they just naturally produce it. And that's how it was in the case with Semenya. It's Semenya. She's from Africa, I believe, and she was an 800-meter runner. They told her testosterone levels were too high and she wasn't allowed to compete unless she moved down to, I believe she had to go to faster events like the 100 and 200, which is extremely difficult if you haven't trained for it. But they banned her from competing in her event as a natural woman, but they allowed Laurel Hubbard, who is a man, to go and compete in the Olympics as a powerlifter. And I have a problem with that. I don't think you should penalize someone for something their body does naturally like that in that case, because a lot of athletics is just a God-given thing, right? There's some people that are just God-given freak athletes, and she's one of them. You shouldn't penalize her for something that God gave her. Now, people are going to say, well, you shouldn't penalize, if God made the transgenders the way they are, you shouldn't penalize them. It's a little bit different. But it's a big double standard because they didn't allow a biological woman to compete because of that and forced her to try and manipulate her own body to compete in the event that she was, entitled to be competing in. But they are allowing men to go and dominate the sports, and that's it's a huge double standard. It's a big problem.
And that's why I said, if they're not fully transitioned, as in their balls should be cut off, because without the balls, there is no way you can produce testosterone. So if they're going to enter a women's sports, they have to be fully transitioned, no male anatomy. And once that's out of the way, then their testosterone level should drop, adding with the shots that they will be taking, the estrogen. So
it still won't, though.
That's something that, well, in some case it will help. I'm not sure, but if not, then go with my first option. Push them aside. Let them have their own thing, and get back to females competing against females. Because what I'm coming from, the thing is, most of the higher ups, they're a part of that whole narrative. They're within that weird playing field of adapting to that kind of lifestyle, or having persons within their family or within their circle being that type of person, and their hands are being forced to pass certain bills or laws because they don't want to feel like they're stigmatizing or
demonizing,
other people. That's demonizing people. And that's the thing. People are afraid of being, as they would call it, cancelled, and people are there's other people who are afraid of being told the truth, and in their feelings are being hurt when you're being told the truth. So unless you're up to hurting people's feelings and telling them the truth and what's really what, then these are things that will never be end. These are things that will ever progress, and it's gonna get worse.
Yeah. So, Solid Blue, I want to pass it to you. I want to get you guys talking because it's been a while. But go ahead, Solid.
Again, I just come back to what would happen if transgender males and females were told that they can do whatever they want, but they're going to have their own sports teams, their own locker rooms. I mean, again, I come back. What's the difference between them and a disabled person, or just how much pushback would it really be? Because even in terms of like the percentage, they are less than 1%. So how much does it really matter if we make laws saying you can do this, but you have to do it over here? Because me personally, I I am liberal, whatever, but at the same time, I don't want to go and share a bathroom with someone who used to be a man. I don't even want to share a bathroom with another woman. So I'm just saying, how much pushback would it really be if they said, okay, you can compete, but you have to compete amongst yourselves, and even then, it would probably, how many they would be competing against? There's so few. So, I don't know.
Can I say something? Solid. If you're gonna be against it, you have to be against it 100%. You can't be half or not trying to hurt people's feelings or consider.
I'm not trying to. That is not what I said. I said that if you're going to do it, how much pushback would it be? Because I just said that I do not think that they should be in the locker room. I do not think a transgender woman should compete against a woman who was born female. That is what I said. But my question is, what would happen if laws were made where transgenders can do whatever, but they have to do it in their own group?
And I'm saying you shouldn't
the Jim Crow.
You shouldn't even be considering what are the pushbacks going to be like, because as Michael said before when I came on, just heard him talking, those females are trained for 4 years. It takes 4 years. Literally, it takes 4 years to build a perfect athlete. And some of them are in college for 4 years. They're going to spend 4 years or 5 years. It takes 4 years, if you get what I'm trying to say, to build a perfect athlete.
Well, it really takes their whole life to get up to that point, right?
Okay, yeah. But at the same time, I can ask the question.
Yeah.
What would it be like? It's just a question, so I can ask that.
Yeah. I know what Solid Blue is saying. Solid Blue is saying, if we did do this, she's not saying we shouldn't do it. She's saying, what would the fallout be? And is that the deterrent, right? Is that what's keeping them from doing this? And I think what Made is trying to say is, who cares what the fallout is? Right is right, wrong is wrong, right?
And I understand that, but I'm saying I still have the right to ask. I'm not trying to be nice.
Oh no, absolutely,
I'm just asking. And to go to what Chill Will says, I don't think that that's Jim Crow, because Jim Crow again was about race. This has nothing to do about race. This is about someone who has changed their entire body.
But it does, because they're a minority.
No, they didn't change their entire body.
No, Chill. Sorry, I have to. I'm sorry, Chill. I have to disagree.
Listen, I'm not really disagreeing with you, but I'm just telling you, with these, I've been in rooms with these arguments, and so this is what it's going to be. How can you exclude? You better than anyone, Solid Blue, should know how it feels to be excluded in life.
Okay, Chill. Okay, I will say this. Okay, you are right on one thing, because if you are right in terms of, if you start doing rules for one thing, sooner or later they're going to come around and they're going to have a law for you. Yes, we know how that feels. We know that as soon as you do this, that there's going to be a law for us for this. I understand that.
So it's not the Jim Crow race law, it's the Jim Crow transgender law, and that's okay, because we don't.
No, I'm just saying that when you have someone who is strong enough to fracture someone's skull, and do them such bodily harm, something has to be done. Something has to be done, because Fallon Fox was clearly too strong for this other woman. So what do you do?
As I said, women are to blame because of the equality.
You know, May. I mean, seriously, I'm gonna tell you right now to cut that shit, because women were not asking to play basketball with Magic, or Steph Curry, whatever. They were just saying, can we play basketball? Can we have our own team? Can we play baseball? Whatever. So stop with the women need to go back and have babies and stuff. Seriously, come on.
I did not say such thing.
Come on, stop. Okay.
The ending of your speech, I did not say such thing. I'm saying that there are females who think they're cut off, and I know Michael Key is very aware of some of those females, even a boxer female who thought that she could outbox another boxer. Seriously, Serena Williams felt like she had some balls one day, and she went up against the world 500 tennis player. The man is ranked 500, and she couldn't beat that person. And the man didn't train.
And Billie Jean King went up against one of the best and whooped his ass.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that I'm not trying to say it's females' problem, but it's stemming from that. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to blame. I'm not playing the blame. I'm not that.
So women shouldn't want equality, is what you're saying.
Whenever you're asking for something, always know that there's always a trickle down effect. There's always a ripple effect based on every action that you make. Trust me.
So you gonna get what you asked for. Is what you're saying.
And now this is what they're using. They're using this transgender act, the LGBT and the feminist right movement to impersonate infringe on women's sports. As I said, in Ukraine, when the war had started, a lot of you people didn't even know this. I don't know, some of you did, but you didn't hear it on the news. The transgenders wanted to leave Ukraine, and they told them, no, you have to stay and fight. You're a man. Mm-hmm. Where was the Equality Act? Where was all of that? Blah, 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 blah. We're women, we should leave. No, they told them to stay, but you didn't hear that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know that.
There's narratives that fit. There are a lot of narratives that only fit certain situations. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And if you try to sympathize with the situation, then you're going to have a trickle down effect. Ripple effect.
I'm not sympathizing at all.
Yeah, I don't think anyone on this panel agrees that this is right. And I want to go back to what Chill said about the Jim Crow thing and about how if you go down the route of excluding the transgenders, they will argue basically that it's Jim Crowish. I think there's actually a big fundamental difference, a huge fundamental difference, because it's okay to separate men and women's sports. Why? Because you can look at the science, and hell, I just listed off a few stats in the beginning of the show that just show you immediately that it's okay to separate men and women's sports, because for competition purposes, right? When you talk about race, a black man and a white man, they're just as competitive. They play on the same field, right? They play the same sports. There's no difference there. And then, it's the same goes for black women and white women or Spanish women or whatever. But there is a big fundamental physical difference between man and woman and then the transgender and stuff. So there's I don't see it going down the Jim Crow route. And I think that, will they bring up that argument? They probably would. But if anyone with any brain behind them, I don't see how they cannot combat that argument and say it's not even close to the same thing. It's not even close. And I want to, I would even go as far to say, and I would just want to, give you this perspective. If I all of a sudden said, I think I'm really starting to feel like a black person, and I found a surgery that allowed me to go and change my skin color, and I got it changed, does that mean I'm a part of the black community all of a sudden, and I'm entitled to everything that, that culture and all the privilege, stuff, not privileges, but like stuff that they do, like I just immediately fit in? Absolutely not, right? Because
absolutely you are. Of course you are. You gonna learn today. That'd be awesome. That'd be an awesome experiment they can start doing. Come on,
no,
because after a year of that shit, we gonna be like, listen, brother, sit down right here next to me.
Okay, you say that, but think about this. You say that, right? How many people wore blackface for a Halloween costume? Now that's like a little bit different, but let's say it's different. But think about this. What if I just started, doing that, painting my face black because I feel like a black person, right? But for the reason that because I identify, right? You know what they would call me a racist. They would call me all that stuff. But they don't do it for this other thing. You get what I'm saying?
Your identifier card that says you're a black person and that you identify as a black person. You gotta have like on your license or some shit. It'll be on your license. You'll be fine, right? I don't know.
What I'm getting at though is
I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying like for the most part, I think
there's more to it though,
totally
right?
Yeah, it is.
There's more to being a woman. Think about this. Do any of these transgenders experience a period? Can any of them experience childbirth? Right? They don't experience that. They don't experience the development stage, right? Just like I didn't grow up, in a black family around black culture or something, anything like that, right? I'm just saying, I just feel like I'm black because I listen to rap music or whatever, and then I'm just gonna go do this surgery and all of a sudden say I'm a black person. That's not really fair. That's not a cool thing to do, I think. Now, you're talking about something a little bit different, like, a good example. Look at the NAACP where the white woman ran the NCAA.
Honest, I don't think nobody clamoring to go do that. Like nobody's clamoring to go be a black person.
but I'm just putting it into different perspectives here, so people can actually see what this looks like, and kind of breaking it down. I mean, when they found out that the person running the NAACP was actually white, did she continue to stay in that position?
No, talking about the lady that with the cornrows.
Yeah,
it was so ridiculous.
Cornrows. It was but think about this. Did she get to keep that spot?
No, I don't. Did she?
I don't know.
I don't think she did.
I don't think she did.
She definitely got fired.
But it was because the fact that she lied.
I get that, but she would have never gotten there if she was white.
Possibly not. No, probably not. I mean,
why would she? She should. The organization is, for the purpose of black people. It's not for white people, right?
But that I don't know. No, that's not to say it's true though. Like I know, like say one of my best. I don't want to be crazy, but one of the best Black history teachers I had was a white person. So I know it's ironic, but it was.
But that's different. That's still different, though.
My point is,
there are.
So what I'm saying is that they're inclusive. Like just because there's a black organization, don't mean that they're not inclusive. That you can't be a white person that move up the ranks. I mean, that's not impossible. It happens.
Right.
You got white folks that go to HBCUs
who do right. But
I get that. Yeah.
But she was let go because it was more because she lied.
Mm-hmm. I think that there's certain things that, especially when it's leading up into the physical part, women experience that men will never, right? And vice versa. And that plays a huge role when you start talking about development and, the physical competitions and then social things as well on why this whole situation isn't right. Like when Maid said about, okay, maybe when they're fully transitioned and have been taking all the hormones and all that stuff, I still disagree because Leah Thomas, even if you cut her nuts off, and 10 years later, she's still going to be built like a damn NFL wide receiver. I mean, she's like 6'4". So, and she still has the bone density of a man. She still has some of that muscle mass. Here's the other thing people don't take into consideration. The psychological part. When you compete with men, or I'll give you a better one. If you take a young kid and for football, like for Pop Warner, and they're bigger, and they go up and they have to play a weight class above what their actual age group is. So they're a younger person and they, playing with older kids and they may be a little bit smaller, but they're bigger than most of their normal age group. If they go and play on that team for half the year with the older and bigger kids, and all of a sudden they move down and play with their own age group, he's going to dominate because he's so much more confident and used to playing with the better talent, the harder competition, the more physical competition. He's going to absolutely dominate his own age group at that point because of his confidence alone. There's another side to this than just the physical part as well. Leah Thomas competed for 2 years on that men's team. And, that's,
What was was it America? What was it? What team was it? Was it the American team or what team was it?
For Leah Thomas? University of Pennsylvania, the swim team.
Oh, so they won, obviously,
the national championship.
Golly.
Yeah, and I think broke. The only person that may have had a faster time was Katie Ledecky, who's one of the greatest women's swimmers of all time. And I think it was close. Like she blew out this person blew out all these records and everything. Chill, Will, your comment. You're right, especially when it happens in class, right? Like they'll never know.
So what I would ask, I don't know, which college are you familiar with within your area, or your fiance, or college that you're back in right now? Which specific college?
So I went to Middle Tennessee. She went to Arkansas and Middle Tennessee and played tennis. But the swimmer that we're talking about was at the University of Pennsylvania, which is an Ivy League school.
All right, but the college within your area, are you familiarized with them, or
yeah,
you're not having that issue, right?
No, it will be. I say it would be a long time. Look, it's a Southern school. It's like I think it'd be hard, but no, this isn't common yet, but it's becoming more and more common because Leah Thomas isn't the first person. Yeah,
I've seen it in track. I've seen the track aspect of it. I've seen the wrestling aspect of it. I've seen it. I've been keeping tabs on it. But what I was trying to get to is the fact that why don't you ask those ladies who are going to participate just not to participate? Let's see if there's going to be a ripple effect based on them not competing that day and leaving that transgender person just standing there in the blocks.
That's what we already said. That's what we talked about earlier.
Yeah, that we did. And go ahead, Joe.
So, quick question. So, if I feel like though, admitting that this is an issue is admitting that women aren't equal, at least physically, right?
They're not.
So therefore,
they're not.
So therefore, if it's things like construction or some hands-on, factory or something, now they're gonna compete for equal pay. And you give men. Hey, you know what? I'm physically more fit for this job. I should get paid more than her.
Well, no. Okay, so here's how I feel about that. I believe in the equal pay. If you can do the same job at the same performance level as anyone, but you don't know. I'm saying you don't know. She may, because there's some just lazy guys that don't want to work, right? So a woman could go there, and you're talking about something they could still perform the job, and they may be more efficient because they just work harder. Like, and if she can't, then there are some things maybe they shouldn't do. Like, here's the thing. How many women are Navy SEALs?
I've never seen one.
None? Zero? Zero?
Never. I even know they've attempted.
I don't know if they've ever attempted, but there are none, right? That's where you start separating when it's really physical stuff. Okay? Here's the other thing. And I've said this before too. Let's talk about being a cop. I've seen women that are cops that patrol that are like 5'5" or 5'4", 5'3", right? That are patrol officers. And I've seen guys on my football team that were extremely strong. The offensive linemen that had 6 packs, 300 plus pounds, 6'5", right? I mean, just absolutely crazy strong. And when they get drunk, they get wild and sometimes violent. So what happens when that female police officer pulls up there on his ass when he's getting all drunk and he's all mad about something, and she's got to arrest him. Well,
you know what though? Okay, but you know what? I mean, there are some women, who are badass martial arts people, and they can pretty much take that person down. So.
Not at 6'5", 300-something pounds, and as strong as these guys are. I can tell you right now, it would never happen. It would never happen.
Answer that question.
Yeah.
What she's gonna do? She's gonna turn to her counterpart, the guy who's much stronger than her, and say, "Help me out."
Or a group
That's
of them.
what she's gonna do, or a group of them, right?
Yeah.
And so, therefore, I should get paid more than.
Can I say?
I want. But I'm not. Obviously, that's not my view. But I'm just saying. This is. I'm poking the bear here, everybody.
No. I know, but don't forget that during World War II, when all the men were, not all of them, but when they were overseas, whatever, women were working in the called in to work in the factories, whatever, and they were doing exactly the same thing that men were, and then they were kicked to the curb when the men came home. So
that is true.
Women step up to the plate when they have to. I mean, even when you look at, way back when on the farm and all this other stuff, they're hauling stuff and building homes or log cabins and hauling wood and all this other stuff. So there are some things that women can do.
But there's things that women can do, but the fact is a lot of things that women don't do.
True,
so the infrastructure of the country is typically built by men. You know what I'm saying? And it's still like certain things that are in today's world that are men-based jobs that are being a little slightly more difficult because of the physical nature of the job.
Then maybe all transgender women should be cops. I'm going to get pushback on that one.
No, you can be successful at 4 years being a cop, then you can. That's
and Saul Blue Sister's right about the women going and stepping up and working in the factories. And look, I'm not saying they can't perform that job at all. Okay, so and they should get paid the exact same amount that the men would get paid for doing that job. But there's also a reason maybe why women weren't out doing combat stuff. And so the biggest equal pay argument is like the WNBA and the NBA or the women's soccer team. Here's my problem with paying the WNBA as much money as the NBA. The WNBA does not bring the value, not even close to the value of what the WNBA or what the actual NBA does at all. It's not even close. You have to bring in revenue to get paid the revenue. And actually right now, as it stands, I believe the NBA actually subsidizes a lot of the salaries in the WNBA. For the women's soccer team, go ahead.
So are you saying that the women need a baby making league?
What?
In order to be able, they need a baby making league so they could just make babies and then gross revenue and who can make the most babies or something. Like, how are you gonna get a league that's gonna make them money and get equal play? Like, what do they do? What are they so special about the women? They got to get them a cooking league or something, a barefoot in the kitchen league.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that when you're talking about equal pay, you have women that think that because they play basketball at the professional level, they should make as much money as a professional men's player who's bringing, how many people go buy a ticket to go watch LeBron James play?
Well, how much revenue do they put in initially in the starting league of a man? How much do they develop them players? How much do they market those players? How much do they put into that league? Because you get in what you put out, right? And so I'm not saying you're wrong on that, but their argument is going to be like, well, we don't have no facilities. Y'all treat us like a stepchild, so of course we're not going to generate no revenue. You don't put us on ESPN every night. You don't make commercials for us like that every night. You don't treat LeBron James like you do, Lisa Leslie, or Michael Jordan. Lisa Leslie don't have the same air, of a type of player. So it's just
okay. So true. Listen, the reason why the women's basketball team doesn't pull, doesn't make as much amount of money as the men's team would, is because they don't pull the amount of crowds. If they can get a packed stadium, then their pay will increase. That's the only issue that the women's basketball team has. Any female team, they're not pulling as much revenue as in
Exactly.
paychecks and stuff like that. So it's not about their inability to play or whatever. It's just that men's sports are more entertaining, and few people find women's sports entertaining.
Well, he's not wrong. No, he's not wrong, though. I mean, okay. Do you watch? Chill. Do you watch basketball?
Y'all not putting me in this shit.
No. Do you watch basketball?
Oh no! Oh no! I don't. Hey, I digress.
No, but this is the rebuttal to your statement that you have been making for the past 10 minutes.
No.
Trying to argue.
That's not a rebuttal. I've acknowledged that. I've made what you said. You just repeated what Mike said, and I've already responded to it. I don't think you gathered what my response was to what Mike said, which is basically the same thing you said. I said that therefore the reason why that's not the case. You can say, yeah, we don't gross enough net revenue, but are you investing in us as you do the men's league, as you have when they started? It's a newer league, so you can't expect for us to be it's not as we weren't Peach Basket started.
Okay,
we started 20 years ago, right? So
the
are
All-Star.
you investing in us?
Well, hold on. Let
Give
me.
me a moment. Let me debunk Chill's statement. All right, Sir Chill. When black players weren't eligible to play in any sports, was it that much highlighted? Did you have there were people watching it, but once
are we comparing men? We comparing races?
No.
And genders?
Factor. We're talking about the same factor on a different
principle. You're talking about the principle. Whenever we can't, if it's not men, if it's not gender to gender.
Stop and listen to what I'm trying to say. You're talking about revenue, and it's a newly sports. Women basketball is a new sports, and I'm asking you, when black people were excluded from certain sports, was it that highlighted? Was there a buzz around it? Let me hear your answer to that.
What do you mean, like highlighted in reference? I want to make sure I'm understanding you right. You saying when
there
was a Negro League,
when they were pulling in, all right, the Negro League versus the white player leagues, who were pulling the most crowds? Who were pulling most revenues?
And of course the regular. I'm struggling trying to find a correlation, but I can answer your question. Obviously the regular league, without the Negro League was, that would be.
I think that fits into actually what Chill Will was saying, because you're talking about the Negro League and you're talking about the regular major leagues. If they would have marketed the Negro leagues, right? They would have been bigger, right?
If they would have, they did even better. They just let the Negroes start playing in the regular NBA, and it made it just better, right? So it was all inclusive.
But you're talking about, again, going back to the race thing where I said black men and white men are competitive with each other, right? There's no physical difference. It's just a race difference, right? So that's
right. They're men.
What I will say though is to the men and the women argument. All right. In marketing, okay, well, you haven't marketed the WA as much. Okay, well, are we going to have dunk competitions for the WNBA, and are they going to start throwing up alley-oops anytime soon regularly during their games? And are they going to have 5 out of 5 players on the court able to go up there and slam it, on a fast break? Like that's the things that bring crowds, the entertainment aspect of it as well. Now, I will say this. I think women play the game of basketball a lot better than the men do, because they're more fundamentally sound, because they have to, right? If you want to go watch actual basketball, or if you go watch women's softball is extremely entertaining because it's fast-paced and they play it like baseball used to be played. They actually play the game how it's supposed to be played, right? Whereas now in the major leagues, it's all about hitting home runs and that's it. Or in basketball, it's about dunking the ball and shooting threes all day. Whereas women don't have the luxury, because they don't have the physical capabilities to always do that stuff. So they actually have to play it the proper way. You could try and market that, but I still don't think it would work out.
I got you on that. So, Mike, so what you're saying is that since we the women play the game the right way, we should be penalized for that because we're still not entertaining.
No, you shouldn't be penalized, but it's not as entertaining because entertainment is why people go and
But we play the
watch.
So in softball they can play the right way and it'd be entertaining, but in basketball we play the right way. It's just not entertaining, huh?
No, but even in softball, it's entertaining in softball, but it's still not nearly as big as the major leagues. Hell, there's barely a professional softball league, right?
But it's entertaining though. And
it's entertaining, but that's that's my opinion too. That's entertaining. The mass doesn't think so.
So there you go. What's your opinion? So why, if one person's opinion, it's just your opinion. To a lot of people, it may be super entertaining if you were to market us, if you were to highlight our Michael Jordan and push the narrative like you see every single night. LeBron. You know, LeBron takes off his hoodie. Oh, LeBron threw his bandana. Oh, LeBron sweated on the court. You know, if that was,
I agree.
You know,
I agree. And would it help women's sports if they market it more? Absolutely. But let me ask you this: you own a sports team, or you're head of the NBA, right? You're about making money. Or let's say you were the head of the NBA and the WNBA. Let's say you got both, all right? And you have so many time slots on TV that you can fill. There's not unlimited viewers, and there's not unlimited. There is, but there's not unlimited time slots either, right? And you have advertising, people paying big money and all that.
I would argue they are.
Hold on. You're going to double down on what's going to bring you in the most money, okay? And you know that the men are going to bring in far more money, which means that you're going to focus far more resources. And you have to understand, because everything is scarce, there's only so much money. There's only so much viewers. There's as many as there are. There's still only so much. And you can't, if you start splitting up the market, and I'm just looking at it from a business perspective, right? If you start splitting the market up and giving it to more to the WNBA, yeah, it'll help that sport. It may bring in some revenue, but the trade-off is a lot of lost revenue because you're not getting the same viewership that you would if you filled that slot with the men's basketball game. So that's why they're not marketing the women's sports as much. You know, you get what I'm saying? It's all about the trade-off too.
My fine, sir, is speculation, because that's not that you could. How do we know that if you have a WNBA team, they're not a tax write-off? You know, how do we know? I don't know that it's also owning it.
If it's a tax write-off, that means they're losing money.
Either way, no, that doesn't mean they're losing. Right?
Yeah, it is. If you're deducting on your taxes, that means you're spending more money than you're making.
But overall, that means that if it's a tax write-off, you make more money for it. You know what I'm saying? So, but my point is, to change that, you would invest in it accordingly. Now, if revenues, what if we're gaining the revenue off the WNBA and we're not necessarily putting the revenue back in a proper way? Now, obviously, they got to invest more, a little bit more. But how are we marketing? Are the same marketing geniuses? Are we putting the same energy into this league as we are the league, as far as, you know, not just resources, just and all? And that's what I think that they're saying, right? That y'all not really putting the effort in. We're just an afterthought. And anybody who feels like an afterthought, that's never good, right? And so they feel like we don't, just stop treating like afterthought. We got ESPN 2, 3. We got ESPN 308. We got ESPN Telemundo. We got ESPN. Put us on something. Give us a channel. Give us the ESPN Women's channel. They I'm just saying.
I don't disagree.
Can I interrupt for a moment? We are almost at the 15-minute mark before we end, so I don't want to take it all the way up to 2 hours, because I would like to end my show the right way. So, Michael, however you want to start doing this.
I want Ball to go. I told him he was next. Ball has been quiet, and we've been going back and forth, and I apologize, but it is Ball's turn.
That's okay. No, I've been quiet and happily quiet. Like I've been listening. It's been a great show, but don't take this the wrong way at all, because I 100% agree with Michael on everything you've said. You're hitting the nail on the head for me. But for me, this is why I don't have the same appetite for the politics stuff anymore. Like if this show had happened 4 years ago, I would have been, all guns blazing. I would have been, saying the exact same stuff as you. But to me, this is, it's like this is why I side with the right, because, and I know solid you're going to hate me
because we're always right.
In fact, no, I'm not. I'll change that, right? I'm not going to say right and left. What I'm going to say is, with these issues, trans, abortion, the issues, I learned them all. When I was like 4 or 5 years ago, I'm sitting watching debates between people, and I always sided with the person on the right, the person that was a conservative. So I have conservative values. And why this is so brilliant, why they've done this, is it would have been interesting if we'd have had a transgender person or a progressive in the chat tonight, or even on that would call in, because what you would see there is you would have people giving out facts and statistics and proofs and evidence and empirical data, and then you would have the person on the left, or the progressive, or whatever you want to use, using emotions, basically saying like, well, you're taking away my rights, and that makes you a bad person. And like, it's like, you can't run the world like that. You have to use facts and evidence. And this is a prime example of that. And for me, again, don't take this the wrong way, but these kind of, and it's not just that, this topic, but I'll enter some shows on Podbean, like the John DeVito show, for example. I've said this a few times, love his show. He's a great speaker and all that, but it's like you hear the same thing every day, day in, day out with politics. And it's like, I'm sure these conversations were had 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, and they'll still be happening 10, 15, 20, 30 years ahead of time, So, without sounding, as if I'm too good for this kind of stuff, because I'm certainly not. It's just like I've developed my opinion, and this stuff is like, it's not affecting my life. And if it ever did, then I would, choose a different avenue. Like the women that are now having to compete with trans men, they're just going to have to. It sucks, but they're just going to have to pull out and maybe start their own organization. I know that's easier said than done, but where there's a will, there's a way, and I'm sure there's going to be the majority of women who are facing, especially in like the more combative sports like UFC and things, they're just going to have to go and start their own organizations. And if it's poorly funded to start off, I'm sure they'll have the money power, because there's more of them in this. But yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been a great show.
Solid.
I am just, going to say that transgenders should have their own, league or whatever, because they should not be allowed. And I know I'm gonna get pushback on that. They should not be allowed to compete with biological women, because it just isn't fair. And I don't care how many hormone shots, pills, whatever you take, they're always going to be stronger. And again, when you break someone's skull or, whatever, that's just gone too far. So that's all I have to say.
Chill.
Well, I mean, it was an awesome conversation, y'all. Thanks, Michael, Solid, for having me, and everybody. It's good to see. Once, like I say all the time, it's good to hear your voices, see your faces. It was so crazy that he said, like, the women that's competing in against transgenders, they're just gonna have to pull out. There's no pun intended. That's
You
crazy.
are nasty.
Honestly,
You
crazy.
just nasty.
No, that's just. I'm just saying, this is crazy. This is a crazy topic, and you'll get pushed back either way, Sada. So there ain't nothing wrong with feeling that way. I feel like I think it's got to be an answer. Like, you just can't. I can't be no grown man with a penis in somebody's locker room, like, saying I'm a woman. That's just crazy. So what I think is that typically things go left, and then something like you said, enough things that whether somebody gets their skull cracked or a woman breaking records, a couple of things that happen before legislation is put in place to kind of even things out, right? And so it'll happen. I don't know if it's sooner or later, but it's a new age, and something's gonna have to give, though, because there's no real answers to this, right? Somebody's going to be slighted either way, and it's just crazy. So, like I said, it's good hearing from everybody. Now,
Made.
I stand by what I said before. Hello, everybody. It's always nice to have conversation with you guys, for sure. But I stand by what I said. Relinquish most of the rights that the LGBT whatever has. I don't care if it's stigmatizing, demon, whatever. I believe step on some toes, do what you need to do, set the world in the correct order, and some people should just fuck off straight.
All right. I appreciate Solid Blue for you giving me the opportunity to host your show, and then you are going to host mine next. We will get a time figured out and a topic that you want to talk about. So I just appreciate the opportunity, and I think it was a good discussion, and I'll give it back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Michael. I think this was a great topic. You chose a good one, and I have one in mind for you. So I think it'll kind of rile your crowd.
Bring it.
But no, this has been a really good topic, and this is actually a topic that Ba and I are going to have on Friendly Differences. And I've actually been trying to recruit transgender people onto the show because topics like this, we need to have, we're only hearing one side, which is our side, whatever. We need to hear what the other side says. So this was a great topic. Everyone may not have liked what other people have said, whatever. But again, like Jill said, you got to talk about it. So on that note, Michael, are you having a show this evening?
Yeah, supposed to here in about an hour. It's 6:00 Central. So I'll be going and getting ready for that. Yep.
Okay. And Bahram had his first show today, an hour and a half before my show, and that went well. And he is on every Thursday. So everyone, again, thank you guys for coming and supporting Michael. Go where the wind takes you. And I hope to see you on Friendly Differences. And today is my Friday, so my show won't be
Your
back until
birthday?
Monday.
Oh my goodness, happy birthday.
My birthday was last month. You missed it.
Happy birthday. It was today. Everybody say happy birthday to Solid Blue. Happy birthday.
See, Jill, I need to take you
happy
out.
birthday. Can I get that one happy
take
birthday?
Me out with the music. Bye.
See, there goes JP. Happy birthday. Lou says happy birthday. See there? Brina says happy birthday.
Oh, guys, it was in
That mama bear.
February. Brina, why do you support him, Brina? You all you're doing is co-signing for him. Oh.
Michael, I don't know if you're on the computer, Solid. Hold on one second.
What's up?
On the computer, I want you to copy that link. That's a lady named Roxanne. That would be able to help both of y'all on either one of y'all shows if y'all want to. On Friendly Differences and your future show.
All right.
Hit her up, and I found her on Instagram. Lou, shut up, Lou. I don't want to hear your shit.
Okay, chill. Be quiet for a minute, Brina. Keys, your favorite mess. Oh my God, Brina. So see, I thought, okay, Brina, come on.
We got kids. We got 8 kids though, Solid Blue. So she ain't got no choice but to deal with me.
Oh Lord. Michael, I will be popping in over on your show, but we do need to get together for a talk because again, I think it's going to be coming from a liberal to see what your conservatives have to say.
Sounds good to me. So I'm looking forward to it. All
right, y'all. You guys enjoy the rest of your day or your evening wherever you are in the world.
Solid Blue, can you send that $5? Can you go ahead and send that $5 cash at me?
Chill. Go away. Go home. Okay. Go do something. All right. Go walk the dog. All right, y'all. Bye.